Morning all of you. Today we can discuss probability. Okay, probability. So before discussing probability, if we are discussing about some events happened in our day-to-day life, okay, we can categorize the events. Some events are happens that will be sure. Okay, that there are some events that they are sure to happen, and some other types of events are there. There will be chance for happening. Okay, there's only chance. We cannot predict it early. It may happen or not. Okay, and some other events are there that may not never happened. Okay, these type 3 categories are there for events happening in our day-to-day life. So if in the case of the second case, that is some events are sometimes happens or not. We can say some examples which are today may rain. It may rain today. Okay, we cannot predict it early. Is it? Otherwise, some other examples also they will come today that we have not predicted early. Some cases are like that. So in this case, in the case of one example, if we toss a coin, okay, if we toss a coin, we know there are 2 chances. Which are 2 chances to happen? Sometimes head will happen, otherwise tail. Okay, 2 chances are there for happening when we toss a coin, because there are only 2 parts. One, if it is happen once, first time head will be on the top, otherwise tail will be. Only these two chances for that tossing a coin. So in this case, we can say the outcomes in this event, it is one outcome is head, another outcome is tail. Okay, this is some new words in the ways of probability that we want to study first. Okay, so these are the outcomes in when we toss a coin, and these 2 outcomes together we can say in this type of with the total outcomes in tossing a coin. Okay, that is represent as this type. We can include in a bracket or any type of bracket you can use. Then it is represent as sample space. Sample space. Okay, the total outcomes in that event. Okay, then when we discuss about the probability, so if the probability of this but 2 probabilities are there for tossing a coin. Which are that 2 probabilities? One is it will get head. So probability we can represent as a fraction, that is the outcomes we know, that is head and tail. So one probability of getting head kittanalla probability. What is the chance of getting head? So that we can represent as probability of getting head. So there is only one head in that. So that is 1. Then in the denominator we can represent total how many outcomes are there in that experiment. In when we toss a coin, there are 2 outcomes, head and tail. Okay, so that total outcomes will be in the denominator. So for happening, okay, for getting a head when we toss a coin, its probability is 1/2. Okay, because there is only one head, and total in that experiment there are 2 outcomes, head and tail. Okay, so its probability is 1/2. Just like what will be the probability of getting a tail? Getting a tail, that also there is only one tail, so that we can represent on the numerator, and total how many outcomes are there? 2 outcomes are there. So getting a tail also, the probability of getting a tail also 1/2. Okay, now we can take another example. When we throw a die, okay, and we know when we throw a die how many chances are there. So first we can discuss what are the outcomes when we throw a die. What are the outcomes? There will be sometimes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the outcomes happen in when we throw a die. Okay, so the sample spaces are, how we can represent the sample space? These are the sample space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 together, all the outcomes that are the sample space. Now, in this case, what is the probability of getting number 2? What is the probability of getting number 2 when we throw a die? So, we know in these outcomes, in this sample space, how many 2's are there? There is only one times. 2 is written only one time in a die. So, that is only 1. So, probability of getting 2, getting number 2 is 1 by. Then total how many outcomes are there? 6 outcomes. So, probability will be 1 by 6. Just like all numbers, what is the probability of getting 4? That also 1 by 6. Okay, probability of getting 5, getting number 5, that also 1 by 6. Now, what is the probability of getting an even number? Probability of getting an even number. Probability of an even number. So, we count how many even numbers are there in these outcomes. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that will be 3. And total how many outcomes? Total 6 outcomes. So, it will be 3 by 6. Okay, so 3 by 6. In the simplest form, we can write it as 1 by 2. Okay, just like what is the probability of getting an odd number? Odd number also, how many odd numbers are here that we can count? 1, 2, 3. So that also 3 by 6, that means 1 by 2. Now, what is the probability of getting a prime number? Probability of getting a prime number. So, how many prime numbers are here that we want to count? 1, 2, 3. Only 3. That also 3 by 6. Total, how many outcomes? 6 outcomes are there. So, probability of getting a prime number is 3 by 6. That means 1 by 2. Okay. Then you got what is mean by probability? That is, actually probability is the measure of the chance of an event happening. Okay, it is the measure of the chance of an event happening. Now, when we take another examples, that is, if we toss 2 coins together. Okay, suppose we are tossing 2 coins together, then what will happen at that time? So, in this case, we can represent how many outcomes are there when we toss 2 coins together. When we toss 1 coin, we will get only 2 chances, one head and one tail. But when we toss 2 coins together, the outcomes will be, so first we will get a chance both get a head. Another chance both coins make tail. And another chance from the first coin make head and second coin make tail. And another chance also there, first coin that is tail, that happens tail, and the second one head. This type 4 different chances are there. Okay, so here first one, on the 2 coins there makes head on the top. And then the second chance both coins make tail, and the third one, first coin is head and second coin tail, and it's reverse. Okay, now these are the outcomes in this experiment. So in the experiment, that is which experiment we are doing now? We are tossing 2 coins together. Okay, so these are the outcomes getting for that experiment. Now, how we can represent the sample space for this? So the sample space are only, we can represent it as together. These are the sample space. Now, when we ask what is the probability of that both are heads? Okay, then what is the probability of that both are heads? So how many cases like that both are heads? Only one. Okay, only one case. So the probability of both are heads is, that is, both are heads, we can represent like that, only 1 out of how many? Total outcomes we know, that is 4. So it will be 1 by 4. Just like what is the probability of that both are tails? That also the same. Only one chance to get both are tail. So that also we can represent probability of getting tail on both. So it will be 1 by 4. Okay. Now what is the probability of one head and one tail? What is the probability of one head and one tail? Its order is not mentioned. Only mention what is the probability of getting one head and one tail. So what is that? Anywhere we can represent the head, tail or head. Okay. Order is not mentioned here. So it will be how many chances like that? There is 2 chances. Out of total outcomes 4. So it is 2 by 4. That means 1 by 2. Okay. Now you get a clear idea about what is mean by probability. Okay. Now we can represent this. So some new words also you got. So what is that? Again, first we can discuss about what is we represent as probability is the measure of the chance of an event happening, and also when we toss a coin, that is called that experiment, that we can represent as an experiment. The action, which action we are doing, that we can represent as an experiment, and after that experiment we get some results. Okay, so that results is called outcomes or events. We can represent as outcomes or events. After that experiment the result is called outcomes, otherwise we can represent as events. Then all the possible outcomes together is called what? That also we mentioned. All the possible outcomes together we can represent as sample space. Okay. So we discussed there are some events that happen sure, that will happen sure. So what will be their probability? That is the probability of a sure event will be how much? That is sure. So the probability of that such type of events is 1. Okay, for a probability of a sure event it is 1, and that we can represent probability of a sure event will be, there have no doubts that will happen, that is must, so its probability will be 1. Just like probability of an impossible event will be what? Some events are there that may not anywhere. Okay, that is impossible. Such events also like that. So its probability what will be? We can predict it. It will never happen. So its probability will be 0. Okay, and other case, that is the probability we have not predicted early. It may happen or not. That means probability of chance. Okay, what is its probability? That will lies in between 0 and 1. Probability of a chance. There have a chance to happen or not happen. So their probability always lies in between 0 and 1. Okay, now we have some other examples also there that we can discuss later in the class also. Okay, thank you.